Hi, I'm Glenn. I'm here with my brother Tim, running the camera. And today, on one of the rainiest days we've ever had in the history of southeastern Michigan, we will be putting T111 siding on his shed. We've pulled a bunch of the trim off already. There was some asbestos siding. There was some aluminum siding also. So now we have to make sure that we have a flat surface to work with and begin our project. If you'll step forward with me, see right here, there is a tar finish. This will be covered in T111. Timothy has already begun the project. As you can see right here, it looks much better. This will be painted in the finished product, but the trim, which we've oversized it for simplicity's sake and to accommodate for the unusual pitches in the building itself. We also, back here, had to not only remove asbestos siding, we also had to clear the wood out, which we placed over there. These wood piles were not in the way, so this project will be finished at a later time by having a fire. Now if we can go on to the other side, you can see that there was also asbestos siding here which had to be pulled off. And fortunately we did not have a flood situation at the time. As you can see, Timothy has just slipped into a big water hole now. It's a real mess out here. It's going to make for an interesting project. Now we'll step into the garage and take some measurements and cut some wood. You'll also notice this side of the structure, which we have not done much with. We have pulled the siding off, as I mentioned earlier. As you can see, this shack looks quite abandoned and quite dilapidated at this point. It's somewhat of an embarrassment. I think when the final project is taken care of and in place, I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We do have an interesting plan to the windows, and I look forward to working with general contractor Tim over there to get that done in a professional and perfect manner. This is Glenn running the camera now with Tim. Tim is going to walk out and take a few of the measurements for us that we need to complete this project. We do have sun glare. I apologize for the overexposure in this situation. Believe it or not, it's quite bright out. Before we start, Tim, could you tell us what you're doing?
I'm just taking a real rough measurement because that's all it needs. You know, it's just pretty simple stuff. So, 42.
Oh, okay, great. And you're just going to make a flat cut right here and even this off at the edge, is that correct?
That's correct.
Great, let's get started. Hello again, Tim. We're going to now cut the wood at the 48-inch measurement for that to complete the trim board across the top. So you're just now going to take the measurement on the pre-painted piece of pine siding?
That's right. We painted the wood during the week. It's going to need another coat, but you want to get at least a rough coat on to begin with, and then we'll paint it when it gets up there.
And that makes things much simpler when it comes time
Pretty
to.
much.
Yes. Great.
Measurement was 42, Glenn, not 48.
It was 42. I'm sorry. I thought it might have been 48, but then again, you were the one with the tape measure, so I put my full trust in you.
There you go.
And now what is this you're doing with this device, this triangle, this square, if you will?
What does it look like?
Yes, I was just doing this will allow you to draw a straight line. Sorry for that mishap earlier. Tim will now begin to cut the wood. Tim, could you take a minute and explain to the viewers what you're doing right now?
Sanding. You know?
We also like to make it noticeable that Tim has been wearing his safety glasses. We always approve of safety in this kind of equipment and machinery.
You need your eyes, man.
Could not have said it better myself. Thank you very much, Tim. Are you beginning to put the starter screws in? Is that what you're doing right now?
We're just going to go put it up. That's about it.
So we're on the road.
We're on the road.
All right. Let's get going. Tim, is this going to be all the screws we put in, or will we be putting in more?
I'm putting them in right now.
That's good. So in a structure such as this, screws really add a lot, don't they, Tim?
They hold it on, you know.
Well, that went very well, Tim. I can see how this fits in here perfectly. Next, I believe we're going to make these measurements here. And this is one of the parts we were talking about the large trim being very forgiving. But I noticed you have quite a bit of stuff inside the shed here. It looks very automotive in here. Not to mention, it looks like you have a go-kart project that you've been working on in the past. Would you care to comment on the equipment in here?
Actually, it's looking from the camera like you can't see a whole lot in here. But it's definitely an old shed that was much easier just to throw new siding on than it was to tear down. So, plus I do keep a lot of stuff in here, but it's
yeah, I see
it's a mess.
There is an engine in here that could be valuable, hundreds of dollars if that were to be stolen. So I can see why you'd want a solid structure. But to get back to the project, we need to take these measurements. So we will do that and make the cut. Show you the extreme filth in our situation. That's a dirty garden hose. As you can see, we have extreme flooding throughout the area. We'll definitely have a path beaten to the shed at this time. The dogs, my dog Buddy, this is my brother's dog Zoe, and they're both very dirty. They play rough. Now we'll follow up and we'll check up on Tim and see how he's doing with his door trim. I must say that although this is a rather old shed, it is turning out to be quite an impressive rehabilitation project. As you can see, that trim matches very nicely, and once this is painted the red color that it will originally be, we'll have a excellent looking rehabbed barn here. Jim, while you're doing the screwing task there, would you be able to tell us what the estimated costs were in this project?
We're going to need to go back and get some more wood, but it's going to end up being right around $250 basically.
And we're going to the local home improvement store to purchase this wood. We'll be going there later on to discuss what we need. Well, your house definitely is one of a kind there, Tim. That roof really says it all. God bless America.
That's right.
So, we're off to the home improvement store now. I noticed you were writing some things down on this piece of paper here before we left. Would you like to talk about that while we're on the road and driving here?
Well, I underestimated getting the wood. Actually, it's always a little better to do that. That way, you know, you're not overspending and you don't have extra and you don't have gas.
That is good advice. The price, however, is time. But time is not as much money as wood in this situation for our particular situation here.
Especially since the price has gone up.
The gas crunch is hurting everybody. Looks like we're now pulling into our local superstore. It's a very busy superstore today, probably due to the extreme flooding conditions. However, some drivers are not very intelligent. And here's Tim loading up the car at the local home improvement superstore. It's been a tough drive. I'm going to help him load some of the additional siding. You'll notice there's some different sized wood that we're using in this particular load. And that is okay.
That is okay.
That will be used appropriately as trim as needed.